Hello, everyone, and good evening. I hope you're having a lovely day and good week. So, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have an echo?
No.
Okay, thank you so much. So, we'll give the rest like 2 minutes to 3 minutes to join in, and then we can start off. So, like I said, good evening again. I hope you're having a lovely week, and it's nice to see you again for this session. So, our speaker will be joining us in a few, and I'm sure we've all seen the poster. The the discussion is on your CV, to put it simply. I'm sure this is also something you've discussed on the soft skills classes. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Maureen. So, just as before our speaker joins us, I was thinking of an activity. So, like you've seen, so many posts, so many jobs have been posted in the groups. I don't know if you guys have had access to that. And also on our Cyber Shuja platform, you can view some job postings there. So just before, as we await our speaker, yes, I have a hand already. Kimani, you can go ahead.
Yes. Regarding the job postings on the Cybershuja website, I did send an email to info@cybershuja. Apparently,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I did not have access to the job listings. So I'd just like to follow up on that.
Okay, when did you send the email?
I sent the email, I think some 2 days ago, if I'm not
Uh-huh.
mistaken. Let me just check. It should be 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I sent it on the 7th. Yes, on the 7th of this month.
Okay, let me note that. I'll follow. Your email is still Kimani Kamau.
Yes.
Okay, I'll follow up on that because you should
Yeah.
be able to access it.
Yeah, kimanikamau435@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, so in the tech industry, most of the times you find that let's say you've done a bachelor's in IT, you've done a bachelor's in information security, computer science. You find that most of the jobs you're applying for, you tailor your CV in response to the application or post that has been posted. So you may have, personally, I find myself, if I'm looking for a data analytics role, I have a specific CV that highlights my, let's say, strengths in data analytics. If I am looking for something in network security, I make sure that CV highlights my strengths in network security. So most of the time in tech, you find you have to be flexible with a lot of these industries. So I was just thinking before the speaker comes on, we can look at one of the job postings on the Cyber Shuja site and simply note key concepts or key areas to see when looking at these job postings. How do you break down an application and how do you tailor your CV to match that application without lying? So I'll share my screen. Let me just make sure our speaker hasn't joined already. Okay. Okay. So is this visible? I'm sharing the Cyber Shuja job post area.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you. So in case there's a hand, you'll just tell me because I can't see the participants at the moment. So we have, let's say we have the data analytics, cloud solutions engineer, service. So this will be a bit of an interaction just before we start off. So I'll pick one of these. Let me pick the cloud solutions engineer. Oh, okay, here it is. So when you're looking at a job posting, what are the first things you notice? Anyone can go ahead and say. Hello. When you're looking at a job postings, what are the first things you notice? Or you guys just look at the whole thing?
Well, I'll go first since you said you can't see the people who've raised their hands, and I guess the
Yeah.
other people can follow.
Okay.
So for me, what I usually I usually notice a lot of things when it comes to the job postings. I would start with, first of all, the title of the job posting, whether it will be remote or full-time. And then from there, I also notice the description and the requirements. Though at first for me, I start with the title, then the description and the skills required. Then if I have the skills required, now is when I'll actually now look at the job posting in detail.
Okay. So that's from one of us. So you first look at the descriptions, then the requirements. So is a title the thing, something someone looks at? Maybe cloud solutions engineer. Is that something that should make you apply or not apply for a job post? It's an open mic session, so feel free to just contribute. Is a title something you'd consider when applying for a job?
Not really, because there are companies that have different titles, but for the same roles and objectives when you're doing the work.
Okay, okay. So we've had so from the job description, so let's say like this one, it's a cloud solutions engineer, and we have partners with customers, sales, engineering, and product teams to design, demonstrate, and deploy Oracle cloud architecture that addresses customer business problems, then derives Oracle cloud customer consumption by accelerating the adoption of Oracle Cloud Services, including discovery, design, and deployment. And then there is a link here. So from just the description, what are the first things that stand out? If I don't have it, I'd most probably not apply to this uh, job application, even if I want to be a cloud solution engineer. What are the kind of things that stand out?
Okay, for me, maybe the Oracle certification.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Something else that stands out from just the description? What about the oracles? So it's definitely the application is someone who is conversant with Oracle Cloud services. But what about them? Is it entry level as long as I've ever opened an Oracle Cloud interface? Or do you have to have a deep understanding of the workings of things? Anything else from the description just before we move on?
I don't know if it has already been mentioned, the number of the years of experience. Okay, yeah, the requirements.
Okay, so just a minute. Sorry, I'm communicating with the speaker. So the number of experience, that is definitely something. Also, the number of years of experience. Also, I'm thinking of maybe what exactly you're going to be doing, the design and other aspects. That is also something you'd be looking at. So just a minute, I'll get back. Sorry about that. So we're just experiencing a bit of technical issues. So from the description, we've said we've gotten, first of all, the kind of cloud architecture. Also, if some applications have set out the number of years. However, when it comes to the number of years, sometimes you may find you don't have that amount of years, or you think you don't have them, but you do. Like if they say 5 years dealing with cloud service architecture, and maybe you've worked in cloud for around 2 years, but then you took time learning, so you've had experience with cloud, practice. So, hello. I don't know if mic is on. I'm getting a bit of static on my end. Hello. Is it on my end? Or we're all experiencing the same? Okay.
Can also hear it.
Mr. Kiseli, are you with us? Okay. So sorry for that. We are having a few interruptions as our speaker tries to join. So I was sharing about the cloud security engineer post here. And then from the job description, we moved to the job responsibilities. So when I look at the two job responsibilities listed here, we have drives Oracle customer consumption by accelerating the adoption of Oracle cloud services, including discovery, design, and deployment. And then I also have engages with strategic customers, builds leadership relationships at multiple levels with organizations in order to design and implement solutions. So apart from just being the person who's designing the cloud architecture, the responsibilities bring something up, some other skill that the recruiter would most probably pinpoint in your CV. Just quickly, one or two things anyone notices. one or two things anyone notices from that, from the job responsibilities? There's nothing anyone notices. Okay, so from the first one, I'll just go ahead and say something I've seen. So drives Oracle Cloud customer consumption. I feel like this has something to do with increasing their client base. That is something the recruiter will be looking at. How are your people skills? How are you with working with sales teams and other teams? How do you feel about talking to people about the kind of cloud services are being provided? Basically, do you have some concept of marketing in it? So that's what I see from the first one. And then engages with strategic customers. So how do you feel about pitching? How do you feel about talking in front of people? So this actually comes to your soft skills. So on your CV, what have you listed under your soft skills? So some of the things here you should be listing on the soft skills with such an application is most probably teamwork, great communication, great reporting, also presentation skills. So those are the two things I noticed from the job responsibilities. So anyone with an addition, feel free to chip in. Then from the job requirements, so minimum qualifications include ability to travel 50% international and domestic. Preferred but not required qualifications include Bachelor of Science level university degree in computer science, math, engineering from accredited university, and or relevant 8 years technical experience. So from the requirements, what are the key things you pick up? It's an open mic. I can't see raised hands, so feel free to just talk.
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is Rose. From the requirements, I can see one of the major requirements is a bachelor degree.
Yeah.
And then they need at least someone who has worked in that field for at least 8 years. That is someone who is like well experienced in that field.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you too. That's definitely true. So yeah, so first of all, you must be willing to travel 50% international or domestic. So if you don't have a passport with our current
Good
rates.
evening.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Kiseli.
Sorry, I'm a bit late. I've been having challenges logging in, but now I'm here. So
Okay.
once you're ready to let me take it off, kindly let me know.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. So we were just looking at a job application post and seeing some of the things you'd pinpoint and add to your CV when you're custom making your CV towards that specific job post. So thank you so much everyone for your participation. Let me introduce Mr. Kiseli and then we can start off. Okay. So like I said, today's topic is on CV. How are you tailoring your CV and so on. So I'll take this moment to introduce our speaker today. So our speaker is called Stephen Kiseli. He's currently the Principal Academic Advisor for the Chandaria School of Business. He has served as USIU Africa's Staff Council Chair for a period of about 4 years. He is also the patron of USIUA Rotaract Club. He is a USIUA CSR at Workplace Program Ambassador and also served as a member of USIU Task Force on Sexual Harassment. He's been involved in several senior employees such as he has over 13 years of experience working for USIU. He joined USIU in October 2010 as an international research assistant within the institutional planning and advancement and has held various roles, including alumni affairs assistant within the same division and his current role as an academic advisor. Stephen joined USIU from Jomo Kenyatta Foundation, a government parastatal within the Ministry of Education. He holds a Masters of Arts in International Relations degree from United States International University, that is USIU, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science and Public Administration from the University of Nairobi, and is currently enrolled for Bachelor of Law degree at the University of Nairobi. Stephen is an associate member of the Kenya Institute of Management. So thank you so much, Mr. Stephen Kiseli, for joining us today. Feel free
Thank
to
you
go
very
ahead.
much. Thank you very much. I'm deeply humbled to be here this evening. I'll just put my camera for a few seconds so that you can familiarize yourself with the face, and then maybe I'll be forced to switch it off for a while because my internet also, for stability of the internet. Thanks very much for the candid introduction. I'm deeply humbled to be here this evening. I think this is my second time to be here with you at the Cyber Shujaa, talking about after Cyber Shujaa, it's time to get into the employment field, and it's time also to get into the job market. And for those who are thinking entrepreneurship, it's also that time to get into the entrepreneurship. So how do you get into this space? Basically, for one to get into this space, you must start from, as the Chinese say, a mile's journey begins with one step. So step number one is identifying the opportunity. And step number two is what we're about to talk about. What you're about to talk about today. This is the art of selling yourself through what we call a curriculum vitae, or rather what we just call simply as a CV, which is more or less you packed in a nutshell and your biography packed in a nutshell. So allow me to share some slides that I prepared for this evening. And then now maybe we can take it from there. I would love maybe to have an interactive session because I believe learning is not where I talk all through, but it's a session whereby both of us interact so that at least you give me your views, I share my views, then we can marry them together and come up with the best blueprint, because no one has a monopoly of knowledge, especially in the industry. Because some of us have to graduate from Cyber Shujaa if we've not graduated. Some of us have been into the industry, some of us are fresh from high school, but I believe it's an interactive session for this evening. So let's enjoy the session, let's interact with one another. When you have a question, kindly just pose it as we proceed. And I hope that we'll learn something from this encounter this evening. So allow me to share my slide. And then now maybe we can Okay, good evening. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
You can see my screen. Okay, thank you. So today the evening class will be on creating an effective resume, or rather a curriculum vitae. And as I say, this is your first point of contact with your prospective employer. And I can assure you, having said that, I've been involved in a couple of senior searches. I've been involved in 3 vice chancellor searches. I've been involved in 2 deputy vice chancellor searches. And I can tell you for free that this is the first encounter that people come and they have a feel of who is XYZ. For today, I think let's go with either, I would use 2 names, either John or Joanne, for the purposes of the explanation. So the first encounter we'll have with our client, Joanne or John, is the resume and the letter of application. But the letter of application is a wide role, but now the resume is what now depicts what type of a person we're looking at. Is this a fit for what we are looking for? Is it a match? Is it somebody who will come and blend in with our organizational culture? Is it somebody who will come and understand what we stand for as an organization? So basically, this is where you win it or you lose it. A bad resume will always be thrown into the dustbin by the first glance. Wordy of a boss, wordy resume, no one will want to read that, because maybe you've just sent out an application for one position, then you have like maybe 200 applicants, and you can only interview 5. At most, we'll always interview for a position, we'll always shortlist to about 5 to 7 candidates at most. Okay. So for you to make into these 5 to 7 candidates, you've not spoken to anybody, so it is your resume that will put you placed into these 5. So as I said, the qualities of a good resume: 1, the length. If you're coming from high school directly or college directly, your resume should not exceed 2 pages. Make it as short as possible, okay? And make it as elaborate as possible. Pick the keywords, your key strengths, make sure they appear in that document. The content must be all inclusive. As I'm saying, you have to pick your strengths, pick your key areas of expertise, and also pick up your weaknesses as well, if possible. And also, you purpose to get the interview or the employment. Okay.
Excuse me,
In some cases,
Mr.
yes.
Kiseli, I think we already have 2 hands up. I don't know if that's a question to do with already what you're presenting.
Okay, is there a way when they lift their hands up, maybe you can just unmute them and they can ask the question on my behalf, please?
Okay, Hannah, you can go ahead. Hannah? Okay, so for the interest of time, could we push the questions to when you break? Then you can ask for any questions up to that point.
No problem.
Okay.
If that works for all of us, then I think that is fine. So let me just go on. You just control the hands for me, because I'm on the PowerPoint slides.
Okay.
So as I said, okay, thank you. May I continue?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thanks, Hope. In some instances, you'll find that the CV might spill over a bit. It might be longer, but my advice would just keep it as short as possible and precise as possible. Don't go overboard. Don't use words that you don't need to use, okay? Because also a long CV also does not become very attractive to read. We don't need a 98-page CV. That is already an abstract. We can't read all that. So no one has that time. I remember there was a time where there was an application somewhere and they only needed 23 people for the application. And the applicants were 11,000. This was back when I was in the public service. No one has time to read 21,000 CVs. So they will go for the ones that look attractive. The shorter ones, it's easy to read and they look more attractive and appealing to read. Okay, so make it short, but ensure that it covers everything in a nutshell. Okay. So why do we need a CV, or why do we need to package ourselves? As I said, in this world of right now, the world is, we say it's a global village. So everything is moving fast. Whatever was relevant maybe an hour ago, right now has been overtaken by events. Positions are being created every other day due to technological advancements, change of business ideas, change of business plan, restructuring, also things like maybe we're expanding. So opportunities are coming up every other day, but they're all going to be grabbed by those people who are ready, and they are ready to sell themselves to fit within that opportunity. So basically, these corporates will always need labor, workers for every day running of the organization. No matter how much we automate or go in machine way, there'll always be need for human capital. And this is where now the CV comes in relevant, okay? Most of the people will be hired based on formal application, okay? There are those people who have been in the industry for many years, where I see some of you maybe in the next 10, 15 years, whereby due to the nature of your CV that is out there, okay, corporates will come and do what we call a headhunt, because they've identified a unique CV about you. There's some strength that you have that is unique to the market. Okay. How many of us have a LinkedIn account? It's something that I would encourage most of us to open. It's more effective. I don't want to discredit the other social media platforms that we are in, WhatsApps and the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Snapchats, name it. But the LinkedIn is more of a professional platform whereby you can upload your strengths, upload your areas of expertise, and you'll get your peers or even your superiors and your juniors maybe to compliment you and say that I can vote for this person for this kind of strength. They have it, okay? And most employers nowadays, they will go into LinkedIn and they will look at your profile and they will see, does this person fit? Because even when you talk about job searches, they are not very cheap. Some of them have come in very costly. You'll find if you have to hire a consultant to do maybe the job search for you, you'll find that at times you'll even end up to spending between 2 million to 10 million to just fill one position, okay? So some of the employers are opting to go now into more of a headhunt. So when you apply, they look at your CV, maybe they'll go into your LinkedIn profile and have a look at, okay, how many people have commented on you, how many people have voted for you? And then now, based on that, they can make a decision. So for those who don't have a LinkedIn account, I would encourage you to open one. And if possible, just upload your strengths and your, just a mini CV. I'll show you what is required in a CV and just make it attractive to the employers. The next slide, as I said, the ingredients of a CV. They will include a header, that is curriculum vitae. Then there will be subheaders, just like the biodata. The biodata will include your personal details, that is your full name as it appears in the documents that are issued by the government. That's the identity card, the passport if you have a passport, a birth certificate if you have a birth certificate. Those are your official names. So these names will appear as they appear in your document, the government documents. Then secondly, it will include your either postal address, if you have one. It will also include your contact information, that's your mobile number, maybe an alternative mobile number in case you're not reachable, so that you don't miss an opportunity in case one comes up. Then it will also have your date of birth. Some is optional, but you can also put it there. It's not mandatory, okay? It will also include your nationality, okay? It will include your profession where necessary. The languages that you have proficiency in, if it's English, Kiswahili, Mandarin, German, Swahili, Luo, Kamba, Kikuyu. Those one can fit in there. In the first, we are still handling the biodata. So this is what is supposed to appear in the biodata. The other thing, it's also, you can also include your marital status, which is also not mandatory, but it's something that you might want to put in there, because the Kenyan system of employment is we don't we prefer maybe to look at the age in some areas, whereby maybe we'll look at the age and equate it to the role so that we see whether the person is a perfect fit. We also don't want to employ somebody who's, what is the normal retirement age in Kenya? How many people know that? Can somebody volunteer? As I said, I want it to be an interactive session.
60.
60.
60.
So, thank you. 60. So now you'll find that maybe the employer would not want to go through maybe a process where they'll spend 2 million or 10 million hiring somebody with a long-term plan, and they find this person is 59 years old. Okay. So for that purpose, we'll have to include the year of birth. It's very important. But in countries like the US, you cannot put the year of birth because they will term that as discriminatory. So you don't discriminate somebody on their age when they have the right qualities and the right qualification for the job. It doesn't matter about their age, okay? But for them, they also don't have a retirement age. You retire when you want to leave. The second key ingredient of a CV should be the objective. What drives you? Okay. What is you've heard of a mission statement and the value statements, okay? What are your core values? What makes you feel that me as John or John, I can fit in this position because 1, I have integrity, 2, I have intellectual development, 3, I love capacity building. You see, the things that give you the motivation, the engine, the oil or the petrol within your engine system, okay? So this is the objective. It's also a good line. You need to have it there. In some areas, you'll call it the core competencies, okay? Which is still the same thing, okay? If possible, you can also put in your achievements around there. So you need to mention that as well as you're coming in, okay? So basically after that, then you'll come to what we call the experience. In some areas, it will be referred to as the personal attributes and the competences, okay? It will be referred to as core competences by some authors. Some authors will refer to it as a career profile, okay? All those, they fit. But basically, what do you do in this area? Every CV is unique. Let me mention this as we proceed. Every CV is unique to each and every job opportunity or opening that comes across you. So don't make a CV that is tailor-made and you print it out or maybe save it in Flash. And then whenever you see a job opening, you forward it to that job opening. Every CV must be tailored towards that specific role. Not unless you're applying for the same role. For example, if it's marketing executive, the roles will always intertwine, but there are some unique features about each and every job advertisement or each and every job position. So make sure that, number one, when you see a job opening, and I like it because when I came in, there was somebody who was trying to explain about some opening that was on the screen. So ensure that you go through that job opening word by word, pick it by toothpick if possible, if you know what I mean. Word by word, understand it, because that is where most of us lose the jobs as we're doing our CV. Make sure that each and every sentence and each and every word that is covered in that job application or job advertisement is captured within your CV. And Whenever you're putting in your CV, always be honest, always have integrity. Because as the interviewer sits over there to ask you questions, they can tell whether you are competent, because in an interview room, for example, if somebody is interviewing for the marketing division, there'll be your immediate boss who understands your role very well. There'll be somebody from the HR, which is mandatory. And then maybe there'll be one or two other people from the other departments, either maybe from the staff leadership, maybe from the union, something like that. But there must be one person. The interview will always be about 3 to 5 people. That is the minimum. So there'll always be an expert within your area. So basically, when you're writing a CV, please, especially when you come to the personal competences, make sure that whatever you say in that section is truthful. Don't say that I've been involved in turning around a brand while you are not even anywhere near that brand turnaround, because somebody in that brand marketing will always know that they will ask you key questions. Okay. And if you're not able to respond to them, by the time you leave that room, they've already discovered this one is not honest. So already by the virtue of you lack integrity, no one would want to hire you. Just be honest. Whatever you don't have, just say I don't have. Because as the interviewers are tabulating through your CV, there are a couple of key areas where they will look at and they will say, this area you're competent, this area you're not competent, and they will come scoring. Okay. So at some point they'll have a percentage. They will say, okay, he meets 50% of the threshold. Let's give him a chance to hear him out. Maybe sell himself or herself. Okay. So don't be obsessed by I have to get everything that is captured within the job advertisement. Okay. So be honest. Mention your key achievements if you have any. Like for example, maybe when I came into this organization, the sales were about $1 million a month. But after put in some mechanisms, put in some strategies, the brand has turned around. Now we are doing about 1.5 to 2 million a month. If you can demonstrate that and the strategies that you put in place, mention those ones. Those ones are always a sell for you. Okay. So basically, make sure you mention your key achievements, key experience areas, especially the ones that are related to that role that you're applying for. Okay. The third one will be education, whereby maybe some of us will call it educational background. Okay. Some will call it education and professional courses. So, but majority will call it, most authors will call it educational background. Okay. So make sure you start from the top coming down. So if your highest qualification is an undergraduate degree, make sure you say you start with the undergraduate degree, then you go to your Form 4, then you go to your, maybe if you have a deep undergraduate degree, if you have a diploma, you say a diploma. If you have a certificate, you mention a certificate. If you have maybe some extra courses that you've done that are related to the job, you mention them. Some key areas like leadership now are becoming very, very critical for most employers, because they want to see, other than your role, what else are you bringing on the table? Organizational skills, leadership skills, team players. Those are not things that you'll get within the education system, but these are things, the extra skills that you bring along with you. Okay. So you start from the top qualification. If you have a doctorate, you start from your doctorate, then come to master's, then come to undergrad, then come to diploma, then you come to certificate, and any other certification that you've been through or you've got. If there are other trainings, like maybe the ones that are held by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, short courses within the institution, like maybe you attended a seminar or a conference, those ones come in after now the academic qualifications. The last skill I said as the extra skills, whereby you can say you're a team player. How can you demonstrate that? How can you demonstrate things like integrity, things like integrity, team player, leadership skills. Are you somebody who needs to be supervised for everything that you need to do? How do you demonstrate your leadership skills, So those ones you just need to mention them slowly. So one in brief, because once you're invited for the interview, then maybe they will want to ask a question. Maybe you've indicated that you articulate in problem solving. They'll maybe ask you what happened. Can you give us an instant? How do you react under pressure? These are the extra skills that you bring along for the role. So you can also talk about achievements in your previous roles. If you're coming fresh from high school, you can mention your roles maybe as a prefect, maybe as a games captain, maybe as a club captain, because some of these things, they demonstrate leadership, they demonstrate integrity, they demonstrate this is somebody who can get things done. So ensure that you mention some of these achievements. If you're from the university, then also mention some of these areas whereby you participated within the university. There are a lot of clubs within the university. There are a lot of leadership roles, games, name it. Maybe it's maybe something like public speaking, something like maybe just even a role in organizing some of the events within the institution. Just make sure you mention them, all of them. Hobbies you might want to mention, but they're not very critical. They're not very key, even though some employers would also love to know, because as they say, some of these hobbies, they depict who you are in terms of your character. Okay, some employers maybe might want to know exactly who are we getting involved in. So you might mention them, but they're not very key. Okay, as I said, one, we need to keep the CV as minimum as possible. Okay, any question thus far?
Yes, we have a hand from SN.
Please let her go ahead.
Go ahead and unmute. SN, if you're on the call.
They're not there?
So
Okay.
their hand up, but they're not speaking. So you could just go ahead.
So let me continue. Okay. So in the second one, let me also mention on the CV before I get to my next slide. Let me just go back here a little bit. Also on the CV, there must be what we call referees or references. Okay, the people who will speak on your behalf in case we need to dig into your story. Okay, before I come to the referees, let me also mention something that is very important, that is community participation. If you noted in my profile, I've said I was a staff chair, that is community participation. I've done something on sexual harassment. I've also done something on Rotaract. There's some I didn't mention. I'm also the Secretary General of my high school alumni for the last 7 years. I'm also, where I live, my estate, I'm the vice chair for the estate. Okay. Those are the roles that you bring, the community participation, because you see, in life, you have also to give back to the society. The things that you do pro bono, the things that you do. I also forgot to mention my greatest achievement, the one that I treasure the most. I volunteer for my church as a parking attendant at least twice a month at the church. So I've met some of my students there at the car park, and they're like, oh, what are you doing here? So you need to mention some of these things. The social community participation, you must give back to the society, because man comes from society, and not everything that you need to do must be rewarded financially. Okay, so you might want to mention that. Then now, when you come down here, you come and say the referees. As you're picking out your referees, one, they must be people you know very well, and they know you very well. Okay, and by this I mean they should not be relatives, not your brothers or your sisters, not your cousins. Okay, one of them must be professional. What do I mean by professional? Somebody who can sit up and say, I can vote, this person has done 1, 2, 3. For professional, for those who are coming from high school, might be one of your teachers in high school. For the ones from college, might be one of your college professors who can vote for you and say, I know this person, I taught them this and this course, and I can say the competencies they are declaring in that document of the CV, I can back them up because I know they are capable of doing that, okay? So first referee must be a professional referee. The second referee can be a social referee who will stand for your, what we call the social referee, okay? These ones are the ones who will stand and say, okay, fine, I know him or I know her, she's my neighbor or he's my neighbor, okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. This is somebody who can vote for you on social aspect, whereby they'll say, I've interacted with this person. I can say they are full of integrity. I can also say that there's somebody who I can vote for, not to steal or not to loot. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So one of the referees must be professional. The second one must be character, what we call character referee. Okay. They are called the character referee, somebody who can vote for your character, somebody who can vote for your life, somebody who can vote and say that this extra thing that John or Joanne has mentioned, I can vote for them. So that we don't end up with somebody who will come and then maybe embezzle our funds or even maybe breach our security system on the cyber, okay? And as we know nowadays, the cyber crimes have gone higher, okay? So basically, that would be, in a nutshell, part of the CV, okay? That is what should be there. As I said, the CV is something that was invented from the Latin curriculum vitae, and it means course of one's life. As I said, this is a summary of your life. Who is John? Who is Joanne? In one page, okay? Because I don't know you, I might not get the time to meet you, okay? But with that, we'll be able to know and interact. Actually, by the time I read your CV, some of the CVs nowadays, for those who want to be a bit advanced, they'll also include a photo of themselves. So by the time I'm reading your CV, I can even maybe feel you. I can interact with you, even though I don't know you physically, okay? And those are the things that when I read your resume and I see I'm interacting with this person on a personal level, these are the things that makes me say, okay, fine, this one, I find it attractive. I might want to have an word with this person for further conversation. Okay, these we've already covered. These are also part of the ingredients of a CV. For publications, I know most of you might not have them. These are more in academic for the professors and all that. You can also include the honors and awards if you are a top student in this, maybe, for example, programming. I was a top student in accounting. I was a top student in my school, okay? I was the basketball captain. I was the football top scorer during my year in the nationals. So mention some of these things. And as I said, extracurriculum or the community service, the volunteer experience. What do you do other than work or read? Okay. The other thing that I may want to capture is the type of CVs that we have. One is a chronological, or what we call a traditional CV, what I've taken you through. That's,
excuse me.
Yes.
Sorry, before you go ahead to your next slides, I've seen two new questions. George?
No problem. I will gladly take them.
Okay, we have Ojunga George, and then I'd seen S. Ojunga, you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My question is on the biodata, is it advisable to have your picture? And then another one under the referees, is it advisable that you have only professional referees if you don't have the character in the community referee? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. On the biodata, that's where the photo will come in if you want to. It's also not very mandatory. That's why I said nowadays you'll see some of them including a photo, but it is not mandatory. But as you know, when you add a photo, it makes it more attractive. So it makes the person viewing it relate with it even more. In terms of the referees, professional referee, that one is key because you see you're applying for a job. You've mentioned some key competencies. Somebody must be there to vouch and say, these are the key competencies of this person. For the social or character referee, nowadays it is becoming very, very critical because as you can see, let me just quote the recent example that happened. What happened with the guys of QuickMart? I'm sure you are all aware about the story, isn't it?
Yes, we are.
We are aware with what happened with that. Those were employees. So now imagine maybe some because every employer, the process of employment, one is the CV. We'll go through the CV. If the CV is attractive, then we'll invite the candidate for an interview. Okay. Some will just do an oral interview. Some will do what we call aptitude test. After the oral, they'll put you through an aptitude test. And if they hire you, before they say, now we are hiring you, they'll have to do a background check with your referees. Okay. So it's always very critical. That's what I mean. You see, I'm talking about it's always good to go out there and do community service wherever you can. It might be in the estate where you live in. It might be within the church or the mosque where you attend, okay, or your house of worship, wherever you go. It might be within even a specific children's home. You just volunteer and just do something within the children's home. But make sure within your CV, there must be somebody who can vouch for your character, because nowadays you might have A grades in terms of work and performance, but your attitude and character, if they are off or they're not good, then we don't have an employee. It's not a must, but it is always advisable. It is a plus for you because it shows, other than just book, and we all know the idiom of work without rest makes who? Jack a dull boy, isn't it? Work without play. You cannot be all work, all A grades, all grades. We also need to know socially, who are we bringing in? You might be a person who has an A grade, but naturally you're a cycle. You can't work with anybody. Okay? That is not somebody we want to fit in our team. We want somebody who can fit in the team, number one. Someone who can relate with the family, from the company's core value, core systems, the mission and the vision of the organization, because you become part of that family. And if you cannot be enshrined in it, you see your academic, like for example, your class teacher might be able to talk about, he's an A student, he's attentive in class, he's good with the projects, he's good with the laboratory. But beyond that, they cannot attest on your character, they cannot attest on your leadership skills, they cannot attest on your ability to work as a team member, okay? Ability to work independently without being supervised, okay? So I would advise, it is not mandatory. I'll also advise that on a minimum, have 3 referees on the CV, okay? You can have 2 professionals, then you can have 1 who is a character referee. And in some of these roles, like for example, for something like maybe in the judicial system or the public system, they must have a character referee because it speaks to the chapter 6 of the Constitution, whereby the character is defined in that. For how many are familiar with the chapter 6 of our Constitution on integrity? How many are? Can you hear me or I lost you?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you. I
How
think
many are
I'm
familiar with the chapter 6 of the, because I'm sure you've heard about it, especially when they are rooting for politicians and elections time. How many are familiar, have gone through the chapter 6 of the Constitution? I would encourage you to look for a doc. It's online. You can get the Constitution online. So once we break off, you can get online and just check the chapter 6. It's a very short chapter. It's about the integrity. That's why the third character referee is very important, as much as you are looking for a job. Okay. There was another. Have I answered you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. There was another question.
yes.
Hello.
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 When it comes to sharing the referees, isn't
Yes.
it going against the new Data Protection Act, where it says you shouldn't give out personal information of such people, like their personal contact?
That is why I've said
Mm.
they must be people you know very well and they know you very well. People who will allow you and give you consent to be reached out to. You see, you have to seek the consent first.
Okay.
You seek their consent. That is why I started by saying they must be people who are very well known to you, okay?
Yeah.
And you are well known to them. Not somebody that maybe you just used to meet in the corridors and say, this faculty or this teacher taught me science or English. I can quote them there. And you see, there's nothing as bad as when they are doing the background search when you've got a job and they call Stephen, for example, Kiseli, and they tell them, I'm calling on behalf of John or John. And then I'm like, John or John, who is this? Okay. Already that for me as an employer is a red flag. It means that you didn't give me people who know you. So basically, whatever this person is about to tell me will not be informed by the facts. He will deal with me maybe on an occurrence that maybe you met 2-3 years ago, okay? Or maybe he'll do an assumption and do a general cover up just the way. I don't know how many of us have read our school living certificates. The deputy head teacher might not have interacted with you, but don't they make a comment in your living certificate? They do, Cindy.
They do. They do.
The head teacher and the principal, they will always make a comment about you on your school living certificate. Isn't it? If I called some of your principals, did they even get a chance to meet with you other than in the assembly? Probably not. But they will still say something about you in your living certificate, isn't it? Does that qualify them as a referee? No, they can't be your referees because one, they can't speak about you on a candid level, okay? But they can, and if you look at those comments, most of them, they'll always be general. A hardworking student, well-behaved, nice character. They'll always have some common words within that. And even in some schools, you'll find it's a common statement that is just typed and copy-pasted in each and every school living certificate, isn't it? So for the data protection, you see you're looking for a job. The people you use as referees, they must be very well known to you and you are very well known to them. And one, it cannot be people, don't sit down and say my member of parliament knows my family. Or a cabinet secretary knows my family, is a friend of my father, so I can quote them. He's a friend of my mom, I can quote them. If they're not well known to you and they cannot speak anything about you, kindly avoid such kind of people, okay? One, before you put somebody as a referee, not even with data protection, as a matter of common courtesy, you need to reach out to them and tell them, I'm applying or I'm making my CV and I wish to have you as one of my referees. So that when they're called, they're not caught off guard. Can you imagine in the middle of working and then somebody calls and says, let me take you way back. Somebody you went to primary school with, has indicated you as a referee. This person, after you are done with your class 8, you've never seen them in your life. You are done with your high school, you're done with your college. You've not seen them for maybe 4-8 years, okay? And then you're called by somebody and they say, so and so recommended you as their referee. We'd like to do a background search or background check on them. Are you able to comment about that person? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, can you comment about that person?
No.
Exactly. Because even 4 years in somebody's life is a lot. Maybe this person has turned out to be a thug somewhere. You don't know. You've not seen them for 4 years. So it is always as a matter of courtesy. Before you put somebody in your CV as a referee, reach out to them, okay? Consult them and tell them I'm inputting you as my referee. Are you comfortable if I share your information? In terms of the phone numbers and contact information, maybe emails, okay? In some cases, you can leave them and you'll say maybe referees will be provided as when necessary, or when maybe you are done with your interviews and now you are at the level of the background checks. That is also allowed. It's not a crime. You can say referees 1, 2, 3, but for contact information will be provided when necessary. Okay, that is also allowed. But always make sure you seek their consent to have somebody as a referee within your CV. Because some of the people, or some of maybe if you mention somebody who's senior or maybe works in a sensitive office, okay, and they wouldn't want to be exposed in that manner. They might not even give a good report about you. They will be mad and they will just give a bad report. And that's how you've lost your job, isn't it? Are we together?
Yes.
Okay. Any other question? Or we proceed?
I wanted to ask
Mm-hmm.
if I'm say I have work experience.
Yes.
I have worked for say 3 years, but I'm transitioning to tech. Yeah.
Yes.
So say I'm now getting into cybersecurity.
Okay.
So I start applying for cybersecurity jobs. Is it okay to write my other experiences? Say, let me just give my case. I've been in digital marketing, in other things that other than tech roles. And then in those roles, like I excelled, did well, yeah, and then got into senior positions. But now I'm transitioning to tech. I've gotten into cybersecurity. I have no experience in cybersecurity. So when I write my CV, should I include my other roles when I'm applying for a cybersec job?
Definitely. If you remember, I said something that as we are analyzing the roles, you see, like, for example, if you apply for a techie job, you'll find there are those key competencies within the tech area, okay? That is just part of the score sheet. The score sheet is out of 100. As we are scoring down, we look at the key competencies of the job. We'll place a percentage on it. In your previous roles, 1, you mentioned something about climbing into senior roles. That demonstrates leadership, okay? 2, you've also mentioned about working with people. You can't grow in your job if you're not a team player. Those are things that somebody who's reading your CV will be able to pick out. So they will say, this person, as much as they're coming in for a tech role, we can consider them for a leadership role because they come with them, they have those skills with them, okay? So it is always prudent that each and every role you've ever performed, just indicate it there. You never know. Like, for example, maybe in your previous role, you are involved in maybe something to do with the budget process. You see, the role as a tech, you'll come in as a tech, but you'll also be forced to sit in some budget meetings as well. So now if you're coming with that experience, they will say, okay, fine, we already have somebody who has this competence. We don't need to train them on this area. So the only area we might need to maybe beef them up on in terms of experience is the tech aspect. But in terms of this other person, the skills, the soft skills and all that, we already covered on that area. Okay. So it is all, each and everything is a bit of percentage that makes the whole person within the CV. So it is also critical. It is always critical you mention it. Your previous roles, you never know what the employer is looking for. Okay. And there's no experience that is not useful in any job. You might not know. Maybe they are having a challenge with the leadership within that tech division. So who would mind having somebody who's already demonstrated leadership roles in addition to the tech role? Okay, because even in the tech sector, you'll find there are leaders. Okay, they're the people who make the decisions. So if you're able to think on your feet and as well do the tech area, it is even better because now you understand both aspects. You understand the tech aspect, you understand that. So even if the tech team comes and tells you need to get such and such a software, you can be able to disseminate now from the area of the management aspect and say, when I do my math and my balance sheet, does it make business sense? Does it make business economic sense? So each and every experience, even leave alone work, even internship, mention it there. There must be something you learned through that experience that might be useful for the role that you're applying for. So each and every role you've done, make sure you're there. Hello?
Hello, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other one? Any other question? There are two types of CVs, as I said, chronological, what we've gone through, and we also have one that is skill-based, whereby you just capture your skills, but the most common one is a combination of both, whereby you talk about the chronological, you from birth, from your experience, your education coming down, and also you mention your competence areas, okay? There are some phrases. This is meant to be phrases. Okay. Some of the important phrases used at the CV. Okay. One is personal information, experiences, education. This is what we've been discussing up there again. It comes up. So make sure these are the subheadings for your CV. The efficacy of a CV, one, is really important in an university environment where there is very less margin of errors. Because as I said, you might find maybe the role is, as I said, you will mostly shortlist 5 to 7 candidates at most, if the position is 1. If the position are 2, maybe about 7, 8 candidates. Because as I said, the interviewing process is also very, very expensive in terms of resources, 1. In terms of the manpower, the people who are going to sit for that interview, assuming that it will take a whole day, it means that their jobs and their roles within the organization for that day, they'll be stalled. So it is a very costly affair. So the minimum number, the better. So they'll always do a long list, what we call a long list, after the applicants come in. Then after the long list, they will come now and sit down and do another short list to come up with about 5, 7 candidates, at most 10, depending on the number of hires. So it is very, very critical, okay? The CV, as I said, is a very, very most important thing that the employer comes into contact with you, okay? So thank you for giving me your time this evening. And once again, I would really, really love to apologize profusely for getting in a bit late. It's been a pleasure. So I will be glad to take any other questions after this. My assignment would be, after we leave the class this evening or the session, I want you to go and look at those two kind of the CVs. One chronological, or the traditional CV, or the skill-based functional CV, and a combination of both. Just go into the Google. That will be your assignment. Pick a few formats, just see how they are. And then maybe you can come up with your own CV and see how it looks like. I will be glad to have a look at a few of them and also maybe give my feedback if that's okay with Hope. I hope that is okay.
Yes, it is. Normally, before the end of the course, we usually hold a CV workshop. I will inform our soft skills trainer, Professor Judy Oma, to invite you so that you can be part of the CV workshop and take a look at the CVs.
I would be glad to do that.
Okay,
That would be awesome. So basically, just have a look at a few. Go into the Google a few, look at the formats. Because I believe if I showed them to you here, maybe you'll not work harder. So I prefer when you look at them, maybe it excites something in you, and also you might learn something that I might have missed in my lecture this evening. But just go out there. Those are the two type of CVs. Just go into the Google them up, check the formats, check the different various types of CVs that are available. Then after that, you will let me know. I'll be glad to be in that workshop with Professor Judy Oma, and I'll be glad to have a look at some of the CVs and see how we are faring on, or rather whether we got something from this class. I will share the slides with Hope for those who would like maybe to have a look at them later. And I'm also available for any other further queries that you might want. Hope, I'm reachable. You have my number, you have my email. So feel free to reach out to me, and just in case somebody has forgotten and it pops up, or maybe when you're going through the CV, something pops up, kindly just get in touch with Hope or Linda and I'll be glad to assist. Okay.
Okay.
So do we have any other question?
Yes, we do. Grace?
I have a question. What if we'd like you with Hope, for us who are not part of the current cohort of Cyber Shuja, what if we'd like Kiseli to go through our CVs? How do we do it?
With Mr. Kiseli's consent, would you allow me to forward your email to people like us who are not part of the Cyber Shuja program?
I would be glad to assist. You see, learning is always a process, and knowledge is always shared. I would be glad to assist where I can. Just share my email. They can send the emails. I'll be glad to respond to them directly and maybe put my input in them.
Okay. Thank you. So as you are to, my email address.
Those who would like to reach out to me, just reach out to Hope. She'll send you my email, and then you can even reach me out, and then I'll be glad to assist where I can.
Okay. So those who don't have my email and are not in the Cyber Shuja groups, the one beside my name on this meeting, simply nasirian.hope22@gmail.com. So I'd seen a hand from another participant. Grace, are you still on the call? And do you still have a question?
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the presentation.
You're most welcome.
My question is, sometimes the advert of job are like you send your applications, then they give you an email. So are we supposed to send only CVs or the other things like the
testimonials, the certificates, and all that? One, the cover letter is a must, because that is what indicates the role you're applying for. Okay. The role, and it mentions a few statements about what you can do or can't do. Okay. Then the CV now is what puts you in a nutshell. So as you're applying the role, first of all, you'll send your CV and your application letter, the cover letter. In most cases, if they need you to send the copy of certificates, they will request them. They will ask you to attach your certificates as well. But if they don't request for your certificates, they're already covered in summary in your educational background. Okay. So just do a CV and do the cover letter and send. The reason why most employers, they don't like asking for the CVs is because one, the testimonials. The more you go to more institutions, like now, for example, let me take, for example, somebody who has a PhD, for instance. If they say send together with your testimonials, you'll find that person has almost 30 certificates to share. Okay?
Yes.
They have almost 30 certificates, because if you count the transcript plus the certificates plus the other workshops and all that. Okay?
Yes.
Such a person will have more than 30 certificates to share, and they're sending it to an email. So they are likely to clog in an email by reading certificates that they may not need to go through. So once they get the CVs, if you are shortlisted, that is when they'll ask you to come in with your certificates.
Testimonials.
Then when you come with your testimonials, as you are taking your interview, they will go through them to authenticate the originals. Whatever you've said in your CV correlates with your testimonials. But in most cases, if they need your testimonials, they'll always indicate. Because I've seen somebody send us, somebody once sent about 170 testimonials. That's one person. So can you imagine now you have about 2,000 candidates sending you 170 testimonials. Do you have a time to look at those testimonials?
No, and they also take you on space.
Yes, they are killing you on space now that we are talking to people who are inside Bashuja.
Yes.
That is a lot of space. So basically, it is always the cover letter and the CV. But if they ask for the testimonials, then attach them.
Yes.
And always assure whatever you're sending out, your CV or your cover letter is in PDF.
Yes.
Not in Word document. Always send it as a PDF.
PDF.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Or we can call it a day and have a lovely evening.
Any other questions? Grace, I see your hand is up. I thought you were talking to Grace and anything. Grace, do you have a question? Wow, okay. We have Rogers. Let us make it brief. Rogers, then Teresia. Rogers, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for today's presentation. So my question is that for an instance that you are approaching a company for a volunteer position, and in this position you are not getting paid anything, so you want to make some agreements with the company that they can allow you to work at maximum 4 days a week, then the rest of the 3 days you are doing some of your own jobs to raise your income. So in this situation, how do you write to this company? Mind you that they don't have any open vacancy. You want to request for a volunteer position, and you're also coming in with other additional conditions. So how do you approach them? And how do you design your CV and cover letter for that case?
Okay. As you design your CV and your cover letter, you design it as that. Okay. You see, your cover letter is what says what you want. And then the CV says what you are, what your competence is. Okay. It will vary from organization to organization. You see, some organizations, they will take you as a volunteer. Some will take you as an intern. Some will take you as a trainee. Okay. As I'm saying, it varies from organization to organization because one, each and every organization has what we call the rules of conduct for an employee. Okay. So we assume since you are with us and you've come on board with us as either a temporary, an intern, a volunteer, you must be binded by some rules. Sini kweli?
Yes.
Yes, you can, even when you're volunteering for something, even in our houses of worship, you can't just walk in and walk out as you please, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of these things, they'll vary from organization to organization. But when you get in there and maybe you just have a chat with them, if they call you in and you tell them I can only volunteer for 4 days in a week, you see, they're not paying for you.
Yeah.
But again, they're not paying you. But again, there is also this opportunity that these people might see something in you that might provoke them to making you a permanent employee. So you see, when you're doing that, if they give you that opportunity, because nowadays employers feel like or believe in, as we are giving you an internship role or a volunteer role, you're using our resources, you're using our manpower, using our expertise, because you'll be under somebody who's more competent, who will be training you and guiding you, isn't it?
Yes.
So as much as you're a volunteer, you're also using the company's resources. So basically what happens is they will want to put some news on you and they will not want to train you. And in the end of the day, they lose you to the competitor, or you maybe go get another job elsewhere. So if you prove yourself, in most cases, we've seen that they would love to retain you because already you are a resource to them. You've used part of their resources. You've benefited from their resources. So they're better off keeping you rather than letting you go. So this small period, as you're saying, you're volunteering. If you can give it your best shot, then that is the time to do that. You know who's watching. Have I answered you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
There was Teresia. Are you still on the call? Yes, go ahead.
I'll
Yes,
take
yes.
two more
I wanted
questions.
like okay, I wanted to clarify those who are who are not like in the WhatsApp, how can they access the group?
So ideally is you're not in the WhatsApp group, but you want to speak to Mr. Kiseli on your CV, right?
Yeah.
So just when you go to people right here in Teams,
Okay.
beside my name, beside the person who's speaking right now, my email address is there.
Oh, okay.
hope22@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very much, Hope. I'm really grateful for hosting me this evening. Words are not enough to say how grateful I am. It's always a good experience to share knowledge. For me, I am happy that I've been here, and I'm glad that I'm sure we've gained something from the experience. Can you hear me? Have you lost me?
No, we can hear you.
You can hear me. So it's always a good experience, and thanks a lot, Hope, for hosting me again. And I look forward to interacting with you, the Cyber Shujas. Those who have questions, those who have any clarification they would love to know, those who feel like maybe they want me to have a look at their CVs, I'll be glad to do that. I want to say thank you. And as we were supposed to stop at about 8, but since we came in late about 8:20, we moved up to 8:30. I will take it back to Hope, maybe who can sum it up in case there's any other business for today.
Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Kiseli, for your presentation. It's been a thorough walkthrough on CV writing. I think my take home mostly is, first of all, whenever I'm submitting my CV to any organization, to anyone, it is my first interaction with my employer. With that mindset, it really influences how you write it, how you submit it, even how you tailor it. So your CV is your first interaction with your employer. Thank you for taking us through the length of the CV, uh, why we need a CV actually. I think mostly we just assume we came into the system where people were submitting CVs, and we went ahead and submitted CVs too. So thank you for taking us through that. Thank you for giving us the ingredients of a CV. And thank you for even touching on referees and answering questions to do with that, activities and types of CV. I mean, it's been a thorough walkthrough. So thank you so much, Mr. Kiseli. I believe we've all had something. We've all come out of this session a little bit better and with more knowledge.
It's my pleasure. I'm deeply humbled.
Thank you. So thank you
Thank you.
also for making it. We had talked, and we are also humbled that you could make it for this session.
You're most welcome.
Okay. So
Thank you.
as we wind up, thank you everyone for your participation. In case of any inquiries or anyone who wants to reach out to have their CV personally gone through by Mr. Kiseli, feel free to reach out via my email. Those in the Cyber Shujaa group, I'm sure you've seen me. My header is Hope Helen, so feel free to also reach out that way. When I receive the slides from Mr. Kiseli, I will also forward that. So have a good evening, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your night.